Hi everyone! If you're new here, I'm Od, a writer and filmmaker. I've published novels and short films over the years in French and English. My birthday is coming, and I figured out that it would be a wonderful way to celebrate by going to Stockholm in Sweden with my sibling. We've just arrived from the airport. We headed straight into our hotel, which wasn't a small fit. I would absolutely recommend our hotel. It was in a central location and it was lovely. I really liked the setting, the kindness of the staff, and just the vibes were pretty much there. And they were really kind because they knew it was my birthday and they gave us a little treat. So that's what it looks like. This is a quick hotel room tour. I was so impressed. Our fridge was a smeg. Wow. And this was a treat for my birthday, so thank you. And we had time to grab some quick dinner, so we went to a vegan buffet. What I didn't know is that in Sweden, they absolutely love buffets. They have buffets for pretty much everything. And thankfully, they had some very good vegan and vegetarian options. This one is called Herman's, and it was pretty good. The next day was our first day in Stockholm. The weather was grey, which is to be expected in January, and the town looked pretty cute and colourful. I was excited to see what we'll discover. The country of Alexander Skarsgård and all his siblings, the country of IKEA, and a country that is rumored to not necessarily feed children when they show up to your house. You might ask yourself, why are you here? Well, some people say it is disrespectful to have a birthday in January because of how cold it is in the northern hemisphere. I beg to disagree. I feel like we should embrace winter and make the best of it. I've always wanted to go on a ski trip, so I've decided to go to Sweden with my sibling to try skiing. We explored pretty much the touristy places, starting with Gamla stan, which is probably one of the most known place in central Stockholm. We also bumped into a couple of swans that really seemed to have a lovely time there. And we found a 7-Eleven. Now, if you know me, I have an obsession with 7-Eleven. When I was in Japan, I used to spend all my time there. When I was in Singapore, I would also spend all my time there. And do you know that in Europe, 7-Elevens are only found in Nordic countries? So of course, I had to go there and be very happy. After our 7-Eleven adventures, we explored Jogarden. By the way, if I'm butchering the Swedish names, please forgive me. So Jogarden was really big. It had snowed before. That was one of the reasons why I really wanted to come to Sweden. Unfortunately, as you can guess, it didn't snow once while I was there. So Jogarden had a couple of museums and a very big park that was covered in snow, which made it very lovely. In the park, we found a swing. Now, I guess I haven't really aged since I turned 7 and I love them. So, of course, I had to try it. This one was a little bit more sturdier than I thought, and of course, I could have been more elegant, but it was incredibly fun. Just, to rekindle with my inner child. After a hard day of walking around discovering Stockholm, we were exhausted. I've really wanted to try Fika every single day. Fika is a tradition in Sweden where you get a tea or coffee and some cakes. So I went to Fernin Fika, which is a vegan one. And I had a samla, which is a Swedish tradition, the vegan version. And I also had a mango roll cheesecake, and it was really, really good. I would definitely recommend it. Afterwards, we decided to explore the Stockholm metro. Why? Because the Stockholm metro is actually a piece of art by itself. This is the Centralen station, the main station in Stockholm. Look how beautiful it is. I really love the detail in the art and the paintings and how stunning it is. People take the subway every day, and I think having a stunning subway makes the experience much more enjoyable. But to be fair, I'm a little bit of a train geek, so I was very excited. What I didn't know was that the Stockholm subway is very well known for its artwork in multiple train stations. And if you want to do that, you have to focus on exploring the Blue Line in Stockholm. There are a couple of stations, such as this one, the Radhuset station, that has very interesting artwork. This one was kind of inspired by some end of the world vibes that the artist wanted to convey in the station. In Stadhagen station, this artist wanted to create an art depicting sports and football, but also the way women's sports are being depicted. So each station tends to have a very specific theme and a very strong idea that the artists have been able to work on.
I see the way we're going, caught in another lonely night. Now I'm mad for no good reason. You should be right here by my side. Now we're only oceans away. You hit the bed while I wake up. Now I count the seconds away. Days away. Here we go again. I'm somebody that I don't understand, and I just wanna know how you get up and fight it. All of this resentment for every missing moment.
Hallenbergen station was one that really stood out for me because of the childlike drawings that the artist created. And I love how nostalgic it is, how both ugly and pretty it is, and how that whole station kind of makes you feel like you're back in kindergarten trying to doodle whatever you have around you.
So this closer, I could fall down this rabbit hole if
I know I use the word stunning a lot, but Odin Plantation was probably my favorite one because of how futuristic the station was with the colors. I love the pinkish highlights and how it looked like if you are ready to go into some kind of skyscraper, some strange place that's going to take you into the future.
Thoughts and things I don't need to know. I've been down there before. So let me know, 'cause I've been giving it all. Now I wonder when we won't be apart. My head we kiss, and you won't have to leave again. Oh, I've been longing for it. Of all the little things we'll do, we're finally close enough to touch. We'll know what we've been waiting for. So I'll dive into hit the bottom. Won't close up like I always want to.
Stadium Station was another one that stood out for me. I call it the gay station because it was all rainbow, and as a flaming gay, of course, I had to come here. I had to take pictures. I had to, witness what it looked like. I really did enjoy the wealth of colors being used and how nicely it looked like all together. As mentioned, I am somewhat of a train geek. When I was in Japan, I took the Shinkansen so often. I remember that one day I took it 3 times. When I'm traveling around, I love taking high-speed trains or any kind of trains. So being in Stockholm, taking the subway while being around the art that had been made was a wonderful experience. We were exhausted, so we went to Shney Restaurant. And I don't know if you know, but there is a saying that if people at the restaurant are rude to you, it means that the food is going to bang. Well, the people at the restaurant were not the nicest, but the food indeed banged. Look at the portion, I couldn't even finish it. And the next day was my birthday. So I did stay in bed a little, then I did celebrate with my sibling. I love cake, and my birthday is a wonderful occasion to have even more cake. And then we went to Drenning home, which I'm probably butchering, which is a little bit far away from central Stockholm. And this is known as being one of the Queen's palaces. I'm not big on royal families, so forgive me for not exactly knowing what it was, but it was really pretty.
I thought you were something different. Despite your obnoxious
still not done with our subway adventures. We had to do Torrid's Plant Station because it's known as the Pac-Man station. And as someone that likes to play video games, of course, I had to see it. It was so cute, really made me want to pick my Game Boy Advance and play again. Me being a birthday Zida, I had to celebrate in style. Unfortunately, the restaurant I wanted to go to was closed. So we had to go to Shushu, which was a vegan buffet restaurant again. I've actually not really seen non-buffet restaurants. They really love it. So the food at Shushu was actually pretty good. I was surprised. So Shushu was a little bit hard to find. It was inside a mall. So I got a bœuf bourguignon, a vegan one, some curry, and some bread. But before that, we also found a couple of bookstores. Eden's Grant's Book Handle was a bookstore with at least books in 3 different languages. They had a French section, they had an English section, they also had a German section, and I even found somebody maybe by Oni who organized the writers retreat I went to last summer, and I really wanted to treat myself to a book. There were so many great ones, but eventually I chose Love by Toni Morrison. I got my Fika of the day at Cafe Platin. It wasn't good, so I won't expand on it. And we stopped at our last station, which was Bagar Mossen. Now, if you've watched my previous video, you might know that I have an obsession with purple. That's my everything. So of course, I had to be here because they had a large range of different colors. And this is Ugland Bar, where we spend the rest of the night and also watch some games in the Afghan and also played tennis table. What happened was that I am not a content creator, I'm not an influencer, so I ran out of battery in both my phone and my camera, and I didn't have any spare ones because this is not my job. So I didn't really get to film what I did during the night of my birthday. We went to a wonderful museum called the Fika Museum, and then we went to Ugland. And this was a wonderful museum. My Swedish friend had recommended me Lao Wai as a great vegan restaurant, and it was absolutely worth it. The next morning, we went to the Stockholm Public Library. Well, actually it was closed in the morning, so we had to wait a couple of hours. So, the Stockholm Public Library was an Instagram-worthy place. Like I've told you, I'm not an influencer, I'm not a content creator. So I was very self-conscious being out there, taking photos and videos while the librarians were giving us the side eye. And the worst thing was that I was not the only one. There were plenty of other people filming and taking pictures of themselves inside. Now, was my shame worth it? Yes, because the place is wonderful. If you're a book lover, this is the kind of places where you can spend days. So many great books. I wanted to read most of them. So that's what it looks like. There's that big central place there with 3 different floors of books in multiple languages. Really wanted to explore the real Stockholm and not just the pretty, shiny, posh one. So my friend recommended me that art place in Tensta, which is the suburbs where there are public housing and where people, usually migrants and their children, live. And if you know me, I grew up in a banlieue in France, so I grew up in a public housing. So that's pretty much the kind of place in the suburbs where I am from. So Tarstall was a very special place for me. The art being made and shown there is being made by people, artists from the global south. And this is a wonderful community place where people can reconnect, discover. It was very, very impactful. Absolutely recommend it. I was not surprised to see that they had these big, ugly housing buildings similar to the ones I grew up with. What was surprising was that the train station was actually nicer than the train station we have in France. So the 10-star one has been created to reflect the different communities that live in Stockholm. So they have different word map, as you can see, and different pieces of history being written that pertains to colonialism, slavery, and the way Europe has impacted the rest of the world. This sentence especially, now I don't understand Swedish, but I know what it means. And this is absolutely true. Our last day in Stockholm was finally the day where we got to achieve the goal we had when we arrived, which was learning how to ski. Because we didn't have the time, or to be fair, the money to go all the way to Ara, which is one of the biggest stations in Sweden. We decided to go to one of the different mountains, usually fake mountains that they have in Sweden. Because the thing with the Swedes is that they learn how to ski, how to do ice hockey and stuff like that from a young age. So we went to that town. It was empty at first. I had never seen a fake mountain before, or a real one for the matter. So I don't have any footage of us skiing because I forgot. It was fun. I tried not to fall. We had loads of fun. At first, I was scared shitless, but eventually I got the hang of it and I enjoyed it. That's it for today. And that's the end of my Swedish adventures. Feel free to like and subscribe to my channel for more writing and filmmaking related videos. If you want to support my small business and my work, look at my website as well as my books available on most stores. Thanks for today. Goodbye.